lucky soulmates. We're in a rare mood tonight, I think. Probably because of all the technical issues that we've had up to this point, and we finally, hopefully...
This is our third try.
Yes. So if it doesn't sound real or sincere, it is. It's just because we've done this so many times.
Yes.
So anyway, we are so excited to be back with episode 3 that is going to be coming at you right now. And Kaila just told me... Hey, just
sorry. Okay. Go into...
Dang it. Kaila just told me some exciting news. I was just saying that
people are listening to us.
Yay.
I looked at the analytics and we have had over 100 downloads on our actual website and Spotify. I can't even see iTunes yet.
Yeah.
But people actually like us.
That's so sweet.
We're creepy, but we're cool.
Yeah. We're like lovable.
Yeah.
I hope. But no, I was just going to be excited if even one person listened to us.
Same.
And it seems like we're really creating a little community, and that is so sweet and special.
And this is a good community because nothing is more isolating than going through experiences like this and then feeling like nobody's going to get it.
Because nobody talks about this.
Exactly. I mean, this is something that a lot of times you don't have proof of anything that's happening. It's your word against like, okay, you're crazy,
Right.
So for there to be a community where people can come in and share their experiences, which you guys have, thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
It's just really encouraging to be able to build that kind of camaraderie,
Exactly. Yeah. And it's just finding like-minded people in any avenue in your life is always just a really fulfilling feeling. So
absolutely.
Thank you guys so much for supporting us. And again, continue to share if you don't mind. We would really appreciate that just so we can grow our little family even more.
Yeah, we know it's weird, but everybody's interested in it. Yes.
Yeah. Again, we want to remind you guys where to find us. We're doing some really fun things on our other social media platforms.
Yes.
So please find us there, follow us, just be a part of that section of our little podcast because we'd like to see that kind of grow a little more if we could.
Yeah, Rachel's Instagram game is like on point. I'm super impressed.
We're playing games, guys. We're playing lots of fun games.
It's incredible. I go in there and get creeped out. It's like the last thing I look at before bed. I'm like, dang it, Rachel.
Good luck sleeping.
Exactly. And then I'm working my Twitter game. It's getting there, but
I haven't even downloaded the Twitter, so
I know you haven't seen it.
No, I haven't. I'm sorry.
Just bad mouthing her. Don't tell her.
Kaila, I can hear you in my headphones. So there's that. We've got on Instagram, it is Good Luck Sleeping Podcast. On Twitter, it is
GL Sleeping.
And on the Facebook,
that's where you really want to be, is the Facebook group.
Absolutely.
It's the Good Luck Sleeping Podcast. And after every episode, we usually have a poll of some sort. And then we're also uploading by episode all the evidential proof that we've gathered for the things that we talk about per episode. So definitely head over there, join the group, and be part of the discussion because there's a lot of discussions that go on in there so far. So
yeah. And I think Facebook in general, Facebook groups, that's where you feel the most intimate, like that's where your little family really gets to be part of each other's lives. We can share our stories and our experiences. So yeah, check that out on Facebook if you don't mind.
Absolutely. Okay. So Rachel, how was your week?
It was good. For those of you who remember, I broke my tailbone and it still really hurts.
They don't have to remember. You put the video in the Facebook group.
Yes, I know. But man, it hurts so bad. Every time I bend down, I'm 100% positive Ryan is tired of me complaining about it. But anyway, so there's that. And I joined speaking of Facebook, I joined a Facebook group called Houseplant Hobbyist.
I saw that.
I am learning so much. And I am wanting to get plants in every room in the house. And I think Ryan is going to be terrified if I bring that
the outdoors indoors.
Yeah. Yeah. Increase our oxygen quality. I'm just looking out for us.
Yes.
Yeah. But aside from that, we had some family in town. They took Jackson to a Braves game. So he really enjoyed that. And we were on spring break. So it was kind of just chill.
Fun.
Yeah. Yeah. How about you?
Well, I did a bunch of things with Jack for spring break. Overdid it. Wound up in the ER because got dehydrated.
Yeah.
Which apparently is very easy to do when you're pregnant. I didn't know this. I spent my first 3 months with Jack, that pregnancy, like barfing my guts out. So I didn't see the outdoors for a very long time. This time I'm feeling good. And I was like, I can do all this stuff, you know. And I just overdid it and had to get some fluids. So,
oh, but everything turned out okay.
It did turn out okay. The baby's healthy and growing, and I feel peppy after my fluids.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I can imagine that that was just a huge weight off your shoulders to see the heartbeat and just to, yeah.
And then I had an experience.
Okay, I've been waiting in anticipation to hear this, guys.
I didn't tell Rachel anything. I wanted to save it for everybody.
All right.
So this is crazy to me because I haven't had an experience where it was definitive, like I could sense it since that time that I told y'all about when I had like the 3-month stint. Okay. So I know what caused it. I pinpointed it this morning when I woke up. I was like, what in the world happened? So I found that show that you told me about, Ghost Adventures Artifacts.
I feel like I should apologize. All your fault. Sorry.
No, I mean, to be fair, they gave you a big warning, and I was just like, meh. So basically, what this show does, it's Zach Bagans from Ghost Adventures, and he has a haunted museum where he collects haunted items and puts them in one building, which, yes, is the recipe for disaster that it sounds like.
Yeah.
So I was watching a couple of those episodes, and I'd been skipping through some of them because they were like serial killers and cannibals, and I'm just like, ugh, you know. And it came to Peggy the Doll. Do you know anything about Peggy the Doll?
I know Robert the Doll.
Okay,
I don't know Peggy.
Robert the Doll was like in the first episode. This is like the 5th something episode, and it's Peggy. And she comes in with her caretaker with a black sack over her face. Oh. And she sits down, and the caretaker, who was creepy, by the way. I'm not sure that she was totally normal, if you know what I mean.
Okay. Was this just like, this is a normal person?
Yeah. I mean, she's just this person who kind of inherits the doll, and she takes care of it. Because all these dolls, they're like their own being.
Okay.
Because they're possessed.
Right.
And so they get taken care of like they're human beings. It's the strangest thing. So she's sitting down, and Zach is interviewing her about the doll. And he's like, it's very unsettling that there's a sack over his face. And she's like, well, that's because anybody who has seen the face of Peggy has had something bad happen, ranging anywhere from like mild inconveniences to a heart attack.
Oh.
And it can be, it's not just in person. It's through a computer screen, like a picture on the internet. Like, you do not want to Google Peggy the Doll. So I'm sitting there, I'm like, yeah, that sounds demonic, you know? Lo and behold, flies start flying around Zach's face. Only Zach. And it's like 6 of them out of nowhere. Ugh. And he's like, yeah, this seems demonic. I'm like, okay. So then he's like, we should take the sack off her head. I'm like, should we though? You know,
he asks for it. He really does.
And so he's like, I'm just warning all of you, we're going to take the sack off her face. If you don't want to deal with the consequences, don't look at her. Okay. So I'm like, well, gosh, you know, it's clearly a demon. Like, I believe in that stuff. So they do the little thing. I'm like looking down at my lap. I'm like, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. They lift the sack off her face, and I just fill with anxiety. Oh. And I get so hot. And I'm not even looking at the thing. I'm just sitting there, and I'm like, no, I'm not giving this thing power over me. And I glanced at it, and I was like, why did I do that? Like, her eyes were pitch black. Like, I've never seen eyes like that.
I'm going to Google her.
Beware, because I had an experience. Okay.
Yeah.
So
maybe I should wait.
I get like hot. I ended up skipping the episode because I was like, I can't do this. Like, I'm not going to give this thing power over me. Because remember, the last time it happened, I'd watched Paranormal Activity. Right. Seemingly innocent. And then, you know, all hell broke loose. So I don't think anything of it. I go to the ER. I do my, not related. I was planning on going to the ER anyway. Right. So I get home. I do my thing. I'm feeling great. I lay down to go to sleep at like 1, and I have, like, ever since that 3-month stint, I have had to have like rain sounds going on my phone at night, just some kind of white noise to help me sleep.
Yeah, we sleep with a fan.
Yeah, it's just quiet is too quiet for me. Yes. So, you know, I'm sleeping. I finally dozed off, and then all of a sudden, I just wake up, wide awake, and I'm like, why am I awake? Which is exactly what happened in the past. So I'm sitting there for a second, and I'm like, man, I'm hot. And we always keep our room temperature on 68. I go to sleep cold.
Perfect temperature. We have it too. Yes, 68 is the perfect sleeping temperature.
You don't really get hot.
Yes.
Like, that's not a thing. We have a fan going overhead. I look up. I'm like, maybe the power went out. Maybe because sometimes when the power goes out, everything shuts off and it makes me wake up. Power is on. The fan is turning. I'm like, what the heck? All of a sudden, my sleep sounds shut off. Mm-mm. And the only time they've ever done that is when, like, the app decides, hey, we're going to update you. And then it'll eventually, like, I'll have to go in and physically turn it back on myself. So I reach for the phone out of habit. As soon as I touch the phone, I don't even hit a button. It comes back on.
Okay.
And I'm like, what the crap? You know? So I pick it up. I turn my phone on. Guess what time it is?
3 a.m.
3 a.m. So that is when it hit me. I could sense it. I could sense there was something bad in the room. I felt like it was watching me. And I'm like, if I look around, I'm going to see something. I could just feel like there was going to be a dark shadow, something over in the right. So I turn over. I'm like cuddling up to my husband's sleeping body.
Oh. And you didn't wake him up. I would have been like,
no,
hey, babe.
No, because I was for some reason I was afraid if I spoke, it would speak. I don't know what it was, but I was just like, I had to stay quiet. So I turn over and I'm like, I just start praying. I'm like, nope, not today, Satan. This is not happening. This is all in my head. I'm like, I should be saying this out loud because you're supposed to say it out loud, but no. And I just start like praying and like asking God to take it away, to give me peace. And then all of a sudden, my door starts banging and my cat is trying to break into my room. She only does this usually like as soon as we shut the door and head to bed. She'll be like, hey, I want to come in, you know. She never really does that unless there's like thunder. Right. There were no sounds. She just starts, as soon as I start praying, starts trying to break into the room. I'm like, does she sense it too? You know, so I'm freaking out. I just laid there and kept praying for what seemed like ever. And then I just kind of feel it starting to dissipate.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, I need to let the cat in. That's going to make me feel better. I got to check the thermostat. Like, I am burning up, you know, and you want to take the covers off, but then you're like, it's going to grab security. My leg.
Yes, they're your little,
Exactly.
Safe place.
So I grab my phone real quick, flip the flashlight on and turn it over. So it's like illuminating the whole room. And I like do the quick, like, is there anything here?
Yes.
And there was nothing there. So I like jump out of bed, open the door, and I look at the thermostat. It's 68. Oh. But it felt like it was in the 70s. I'm like, what is going on? So I turned it down to 66, jumped back in bed, and I just laid there, and I just started getting peace.
Yeah.
It was like it finally got the memo and left. But I was like, this is Peggy's fault.
Dang it, Peggy.
Yeah, seriously. So don't play around with that stuff.
Oh, okay. Maybe
you still gonna look?
I was just debating that. I was like, maybe I shouldn't Google her then.
Oh my gosh.
Should we put her in our...
I don't know. I don't know if I want to look at her long enough to upload that picture. We'll do a poll.
Okay. Yes, we should. That should be our poll for.
Should we add Peggy the doll to our albums?
Oh, how funny. Oh, well, I'm sorry that you went through that. That sounds absolutely terrifying.
It was weird because I had just told you I haven't had that thing where I've sensed the spirit.
Right.
Since then, it was almost like I kind of shut myself down from it because I didn't want to deal with it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And then it was just like, back on, and I was buzzing. I'm like, what is happening? So,
yeah.
Thankfully, it wasn't more than that, but I had been studying like shadow people for this episode, and I'm like, there's going to be a shadow person right there. I just know it.
I know. Like, okay, so when I did my research for my topic, you know, too, like, I'm just thinking, okay, when am I going to be alone in the house again? Like, because you know that it's, you know, whatever might happen when you're least expecting it. Yeah.
I'm so interested to hear about the black-eyed children, by the way, because I've never, like, I've heard of them, but my knowledge is limited. So.
Yes. So, well, that kind of segues us to the next part. Kayla is talking about shadow people today.
Which is very interesting, I found out.
Yes.
They're real this time.
You know, the chupacabra could be real.
I got no votes on that poll, Rachel. None.
I think people were just, maybe they missed the poll. I'm not sure. So, yeah. Kayla's talking about shadow people. I am talking about black-eyed kids who, I mean, this is one of the like mythological beings or whatever that terrifies me the most because I kind of, well, I believe in everything, but these especially, I never want to come into contact with these ever, especially after doing this research. So.
Go.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Here I go. Okay. So, black-eyed kids, the history around them.
I thought you were going to say black-eyed peas for some reason. We were just Where is the love?
I was gonna sing a song, but I don't know any songs by the Black Eyed Peas. I'm so sorry.
Okay, sorry.
All right. So the history. A lot of people think that they have existed since the 1980s, but most sources indicate that the legend originated from a 1996. I'm sorry. Article written by a Texas reporter named Brian Bethel. So he describes encountering two such children in Texas and claims that a second person had a similar unrelated encounter in Portland in 2012. So Brian Bethel is kind of like the guy when it comes to black-eyed kids.
Okay.
I found out that a lot of research kind of surrounds him and his experiences. Yes.
Okay.
So he's actually told his story on the reality TV series Monsters and Mysteries in America. And recently he wrote a follow-up article for the Abilene Reporter News in Texas describing his experience and maintaining his belief is legitimate. Like he claims to this day, after a lot of people have gone after him saying, you know, like, are you sure you saw what you saw?
Yeah.
Like, you know, but he still maintains that this really happened. Okay.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
So a lot of the information I got was from she's an author that I found. I don't remember where I found her, but she writes a lot of paranormal stuff. Her name is Chrissy Stockton. And this article was updated last October 31st, 2018. So it's pretty recent here.
It's Halloween.
Yes.
Interesting. All right.
So 10 facts about the Black-Eyed Kids. Actually, I think it's 10. I might have deleted one because I talked about it later.
That's
so,
okay.
An unknown amount of facts about the Black-Eyed Kids. Okay. So they look like normal human children between the ages of 6 and 16, but with pale skin and completely black eyes. Additionally, people who have been in close proximity to the Black-Eyed Kids report a feeling of unease that washed over them.
Naturally.
Obviously. And while nothing about the children's appearance genuinely frightens the people, aside from their eyes, they still report feelings ranging from anxiety to terror at their presence.
So they act like normal kids?
No.
Okay.
Not at all.
I was like,
but they're just saying that like their black eyes are the only abnormality of them. They're commonly described as wearing dated clothing or dressing in a manner that is not typical or normal for a child of their age. They always ask for something. Okay. So it is always something that involves being in close quarters with you. They will either...
Isn't that how all kids are? Mommy, can I have some water? And you're like right in your face.
Mama. They will ask you for a ride in your vehicle or to enter this is mostly what they ask is for them to come in to use your phone. Okay. The story has been added to the internet by the creepypasta lore, but again, to this day, Bethel claims 100% true. In 2014, a British paper reported that the sightings of the Black-Eyed Kids around the world are rising.
That's actually what's happening with shadow people, too.
Super.
Yeah. What are we doing?
So, different theories for the Black-Eyed Kids. Some think that they're vampires or energy vampires. Okay. Aliens. Obviously. I feel like it always goes back to aliens.
Yeah, so do shadow people, but I was just thinking like my kid is an energy vampire. He's totally normal. He just kind of sucks you dry.
He has beautiful blue eyes to anybody who's wondering. Yes. Or they are of demonic origin, which is, after researching, I feel like I really don't know. Honestly, I can't tell you. Okay.
I would just always be like, demons.
I know. So, are Black-Eyed Kids real? There's a good reason to suspect that the children are a real phenomena. There are a lot of eyewitness accounts that are spread through multiple countries who have described similar experiences. They corroborate with each other with the same MO. The children have, again, pale appearance, black eyes, they don't usually come alone. They're usually in 2 or 3s.
Oh, that's even worse.
I know. Clothing style out of date, needing to gain access to the witness's vehicle or home. And I think it's also important. This is what I read too in one of the articles I found. It's important to keep in mind that the Black-Eyed Kids story isn't that phenomenal. If somebody were making up a story, they might try harder to make it more interesting or fantastical. The situations described seem creepy, but like not out of the plot of a horror movie. You know, they're just an everyday situation with some kids in it that seems strange. Okay. So what do they want?
That's what I was about to ask. Like, what, once they gain access, what do they get from it?
It is believed they want to eat or take your soul or energy. And your hesitation to let them in is a visceral reaction because your soul knows that it's in danger.
This is legit the vampire lore, too. If you give them permission to walk through the threshold of your house, they have interest forever.
I mean, I think that's why they throw the vampire thing in there.
Holy cow.
Quote unquote survivors generally become sick, like with a disease or cancer or whatnot, as if part of their life force no longer exists within them. I found a few survivor stories. Okay.
I'm ready.
One of them is very small. I helped them once. Never ever under any circumstance do it. I'm not sure what they do, but it feels as though they are ripping out your soul. They get really close to you and you get amazingly drowsy. If it weren't for my girlfriend showing up mid quote unquote invasion and kicking them out, I probably would be dead. I didn't even see the black eyes until I had let them in. They're getting smarter.
Oh my God, I got such chills.
Okay, and then my last little part here is a firsthand account. Okay, and I've read this in multiple like places. Okay, so it's one of my favorites. It's one of my favorite bedtime stories. Are you ready?
Rachel's version of bedtime stories.
Okay, so the witness report is called "I Let the Black-Eyed Children in My Home, and Now I'm Slowly Dying." So this article or the encounter was by Greg Newkirk on 1/28/2016. Okay, let me start by saying that I know how hard this will be to believe. But now that things have taken a turn for the worse, I started looking for stories similar to mine and found Weak and Weird, which is the website that I found this from.
Okay.
I feel like I should share this story with someone, and your website seems like the right place. I made the mistake of letting the black-eyed kids inside, and now I'm worried I might die because of it. I hope this will be a warning to everyone who is ever in the position to make the same mistake that I did. I live just outside of a rural town in Vermont. It doesn't say which one. It's a tight-knit community where everyone knows one another and people don't lock their doors at night. There's never been any need to. A little over a year ago, I woke up because I heard a loud banging on my front door. At the time, my husband and I lived in a small home on a dirt road just outside of the rural route into town. It was the middle of a snowstorm, and the nearby hills get very slippery in the snow, so I thought that someone might have been in an accident and broken down. It's happened before. When I looked out the window, I could see that our motion spotlight was on. I could see that there were footprints in the snow that had come from our road and into our driveway. There was no car anywhere. The snow was still covering the road, and no one had driven on it for at least a couple hours. Our front door was obscured from the window, but I could see that someone was standing there. I wasn't sure what to think, so I woke my husband up just to feel safer. While I was telling him what was going on, the banging on the door started again, and my husband went to answer it while I stood in the hallway. There is a picture here of the footprints.
Those are some big feet.
We'll post that. When he opened the door, there were two children standing in the snow looking toward the ground. They were a boy and a girl that could not have been more than 8 years old. They were dressed strangely and had odd haircuts. The girl's hair was very long and straight, and the boy had a dated haircut that looked almost like a bowl cut. They weren't dressed for winter, and my first thought was they must have been Mennonite children. But as far as I know, there was never a large community of Mennonites near us. Thinking back on it now, I know my normal reaction to seeing children in a snowstorm would have been to rush them inside and bundle them up with some blankets and hot cocoa, but that's not how this felt. These children were very unnerving. They would not make eye contact, and when my husband asked them if everything was okay, they asked if they could come in. My husband looked at me like, what do I do? And I asked the kids where their parents were. They'll be here soon, is all they said. It was around 2 o'clock in the morning at this point, and that's when they usually knock on the door, by the way. It's like middle of the night.
Well, that makes sense because it's hard to tell when someone has black eyes at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Exactly.
Oh
yes.
my God.
So it was around 2 o'clock at this point, so the only reasonable thought in my head was that there must have been an accident and these kids got lost. As much as my instincts told me not to bring them inside, I did it anyway. I went into the kitchen to make them some hot cocoa while my husband took them into the living room. While I was fixing the kettle, I could hear my husband talking to the kids. He was asking them if they were okay, where they came from, how far they'd walked, if their parents' car was broken down, things like that. But they only answered, "Our parents will be here soon." They spoke in a sing-songy voice, and they weren't afraid to be in a stranger's home at all. I started to notice that our cats, we had 4, were all hiding except Pigeon, who was in the kitchen with me. Normally our cats are very curious and friendly, and we have to be careful that they don't run out the door when we leave. This time, none of them even tried to see who was here, which I thought was very strange. All the hair on Pigeon's neck was standing up, and his tail was puffed while he looked into the living room. While I bent down to pet him and see what was wrong, he hissed and started growling and backed up until he had hid himself under the kitchen island. I have never seen him do that before. When I walked back into the living room, the kids were sitting on the couch as still as can be, but my husband was holding his head in his hands. I asked him what was wrong, and he said that he just felt very dizzy all of a sudden and that he was fine. I turned back to the children to give them their cocoa, but when they looked at me, I gasped. It took everything inside of me not to drop the mugs and run away. When they looked at me, their eyes were completely black. They had no whites, just giant black pupils. When they saw that I was scared, they stood up and asked if they could use the bathroom. I tried to be as composed as I could be and showed them down the hall. They went into the bathroom together, and I hurried back to my husband to ask him if he had seen their eyes.
When do kids ever go to the bathroom together?
I don't know. It's so creepy.
It's really weird.
He had seen them too and said that it looked like his brother's badly bruised eyes after a car accident. We were in the middle of talking about whose children they could be when my husband's nose started to bleed. He'd never had nosebleeds as long as I had known him. I just knew inside myself that this had something to do with the kids in the bathroom, and I started crying, and I ran to get my husband some tissues. That's when the power went out.
No.
I heard my husband yell my name from the living room, and as I started to walk back through the hallway, I stopped dead in my tracks. The two children were standing at the end of the hallway. They weren't moving, and I have never been so scared in my whole life. They just stood there in the dark. After what felt like forever, the boy said, "Our parents are here."
Ah! No!
And they walked to the door, opened it, and walked out, leaving it wide open. My husband jumped up to go close it and almost fell over. We looked out the window and saw two men standing by a black car idling at the end of our driveway. They were wearing black-colored suits and were very tall, at least 6 feet. When my husband waved at them, they just stared at us, got into the car, and drove off. Our power came on about a half hour later, and nothing was the same after that. Over the next 3 months, three of our cats went missing. We can only assume that they ran away somewhere and never came back, but the worst thing was coming home to find Pigeon in a puddle of blood on the living room floor. He looked like he had been vomiting blood, and the vet told us that he had some kind of hemorrhage. After my husband's nosebleeds became a regular occurrence, he went to see the doctor. He didn't know what to make out of it other than dry nasal passages, but my husband was diagnosed with an aggressive skin cancer. When the doctor asked us if we used tanning beds, and we both thought he was joking, but apparently this type of melanoma is linked to overuse of indoor tanning. The doctors think he will recover, but I don't understand how it got so bad so quickly. My husband never worked an outdoor job and spends relatively little time in the sun.
Not to mention it's Vermont.
Right. Since we let the black-eyed kids inside our home, I've suffered from regular dizzy spells and nosebleeds on a regular basis. I've had other issues which I won't mention here, but trust me when I say that I am suddenly in the worst condition of my life and no one can do anything about it. I know that all of this is because I let the black-eyed children into my home. We've told everyone we could about the strange kids that showed up that night, and no one else saw them, and some laugh at how scared we were of Mennonite kids, but we know what we saw. I wish my husband had never opened the door. Feel free to publish this as a warning to others about the black-eyed kids. My advice would be, lock your doors, call the police, and wait for morning. Don't make the same mistake we did.
Like, I can't decide. Would it be worse if you died instantly?
Yeah.
Or have to go through life just deteriorating faster?
I don't know.
And watching all those you love die too.
I have one little smidge of bad news left to give you.
What?
Black-eyed kids experiences generally happen to those who are familiar with them. So if you had not heard about...
You didn't give me a warning beforehand, Rachel.
If you had not heard about the black-eyed kids before, you may be in their sight now. I'm so sorry.
Oh, my God. Well, thank you.
Anytime.
I'm just going to send you an image of Peggy just randomly for compensation.
So that's the black-eyed kids.
That's terrifying.
It's very scary. Yeah.
I'm very wary of people in general, especially children. I don't know why. So I feel like if kids came up, I'd be like, no.
Yeah. But like your instinct, you know, if a kid came to your door would be to like, oh, shoot, where's your mom? We got to help you. We got to figure this out.
I wonder if I would sense it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's really strange.
100%. If somebody knocks on my door at 2 a.m., I am calling the police.
Oh, yeah. I'm not answering.
No. I don't know what to think about that. I don't know what they are. I don't know if I could pinpoint what I think they are. I just know that I don't ever want to come into contact with them.
I mean, they're soul eaters.
Yep.
I just kind of wonder if like they were gathering the souls to feed their parents.
Yeah. Or if they take or maybe they can like change, you know, their familiar so that if they want to come into, they want to appear.
Maybe they are the parents.
Yeah. You know, you never know. They want to appear in a way that people will be the least threatened by them.
Let's look like cute little kids, but with really black eyes.
I know. You don't think like if they can change their shape, they should probably figure out the eye situation.
Like if you want to look cute, get Jack's eyes, the big blue eyes.
Yes.
That's what draws people in,
Yes.
not black.
Yeah.
Mine is about shadow people. There's actually, okay, so I had a thought while you were talking. I was thinking about why are these things happening more and more often? You know what's happened since 95?
The internet.
The internet.
Mm-hmm.
And we're all publishing our stories and posting proof and all these things. We're giving them the feed that they need to make everybody believe.
Right.
And we're directly perpetuating it by having a podcast. But, you know.
I know. I was thinking, is
the
this
point.
the right choice? I'm just kidding.
Well, it's interesting that we've started this podcast and then I have an experience.
Right.
That's super weird to me.
Yeah.
But anyway, so these also first started getting talked about in 2001.
Mm-hmm.
People have seen them a long time ago, you know, but it only started coming out and like being a discussion in 2001. Shadow people are usually like solid black humanoid figures. They're usually male. It's very, very rare for it to be female. They're
like,
very solid in the center.
Okay.
What?
How could you tell what they are if they're shadows, though?
Because they're like, you know, they have like the stocky build. And
Okay.
they're always like 6 to 7 feet tall. If it's a female one, it's like 5 to 6 foot.
Interesting.
Yeah.
With boobs.
No, you can't see any boobs that I know of.
Just saying the silhouette.
They may have like a skirt silhouette though.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But I mean, it was so rare. Like none of the encounters that I read about had a female in it. It was all male, humanoid, tall, stocky builds. They're usually like solid black through the center and then like kind of a hazy, wavy, see-through smoke on the outsides.
Okay.
So their outer edges are harder to see. They're usually seen like fleeting out of the corner of your eye at first. And then usually you'll start to have like firsthand encounters where it's like you turn around and there's somebody and they're staring at you and they don't break until you break. Like until you look away, then they're gone. So it's really creepy and intimidating. People are questioning, are they evil? My answer is yes.
Yeah. I don't think that is a question.
Some of them are considered not evil. Are they trying to hide from you? You know, they're fleeting out of the corner of your eye. Are they demonic entities trying to terrify you? Are they aliens? Some were even suggesting that they might be alien beings because that's what we always go back to.
Yeah.
So I looked up evidence that they're evil, which there was an abundance.
Yeah.
Many times after shadow people are spotted, people are scratched or attacked, like that figure that we saw that ran past the baby. Some have reported being choked after seeing a shadow person or even seeing the person jump on their chest and they feel like they're suffocating. But they usually disappear if you invoke the name of Jesus. If that's not demonic, I don't know what is. It's theorized that shadow people could be a hallucination of sleep paralysis. But the majority of the accounts that I've read they're wide awake. Okay. Sometimes it's middle of the day.
And I also believe that sleep paralysis is just...
I think it's just seeing it through the veil.
I do too. I don't think that is anything to do with you making that up. So
no. There was one website that decided to classify shadow people, which I thought was hilarious. They have sentinels, which stand in corners of rooms and watch you. Lurkers. I know. No, did you know that's like the prime thing of shadow beings? They like to watch you, especially while you sleep. It's like they're observing you.
Good luck sleeping.
Okay, so they've got the sentinels stand in corners of rooms and watch you. They've got lurkers who lurk around your house but flee when you spot them. So those are the ones you see out of the corner of your eye. Predators, which are rare, but I don't think they're actually so rare. The fear builds up and then disappears. No physical injuries, but you may feel suffocated or pinched. They didn't ever mention the actual physical injuries, so I'm thinking maybe they classified those as demons.
Okay.
I think they're all demons.
Yeah.
Visitors, they seem otherworldly, alien in nature. So those are like when you feel like you've been abducted, you know?
Yeah.
Then there's the mind their own business ones. They're the ones that show up on set pathways. They pass by as though they don't even see you. It's just like they're making their way from A to B. And I know some ghosts are reported to be like that as well, but they actually don't think that these are ghosts.
Okay. So like, why don't they think that?
Because usually They have no shapes, no distinguishing features.
Okay.
You can't make out anything like, with a ghost, it might be like a Confederate soldier or a Native American.
Just replaying that like last little bit of their life or whatever, just over and
like
over.
Whatever they got struck with. Like if they haunt their own house, they're usually like upset because you're changing their house or, something like that. These don't act like that. They're just like there to freak you out.
Okay.
Then they have omens. And this is like,
I think I've heard about this.
yes.
Okay.
So these are where they appear. Usually they touch someone and then bad stuff starts happening to that person. So it's like, are they causing it like Mothman?
Yeah.
Or is it just a harbinger?
Mothman. Soft spot in my heart for Mothman. What I've heard is that a lot of people will see them sometimes collect in an area where there has been an accident or where there has been chaos because they kind of feed off that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly what I found, is that they like to feed off the fear that they create.
Okay.
And then the last one is haunters, which is just they lurk around haunted spaces. Like, for instance, there's some place called Waverly Hills Sanatorium.
Yes, know exactly about that, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this guy he took a picture and he was looking at his footage later, and there's just a black mass. A humanoid mass right in the middle there. So they're not believed to be ghosts because they have no features. The ones that are aggressive and attack you are believed to be demonic entities. Mm-hmm. So they think that there's like a non-harmful one and then one that's like possessed by demons or is a demon. I think there's just like varying levels of demon. But then as I was doing my research, I came across this specific shadow man that he is like a shadow person, but he has made himself distinguished. And he is the Hat Man. And he shows up and he always has like a fedora hat.
Okay. At least he's stylish.
I know. He usually looks like he's in a trench coat, or his legs are just missing. Like they're just fuzzy, see-through, whatever. But he's solid in the middle like the rest of them. And some people have even reported him with glowing red eyes. Oh. None of the other shadow people had any facial features, but Hat Man will. Hat Man also seems to lurk around dysfunctional families and observe them. He'll start by peeking into the bedrooms of small children and then like following them throughout life. And you're like, okay, so he just likes to watch people, right? No.
Oh, no. I hate when kids are involved. I hate it.
I know. So they'll see them, as a young child in the bedroom or basements. He loves basements, of course. And this is also like, he's cross-cultural. He's been seen all over the world. Whereas other shadow people seem to be like in certain regions. He's been seen everywhere. And it says the unsettling thing about the Hat Man is that he usually does not harm you, but he's content to watch you. In some cases, watch other shadow beings attack you. I read a couple accounts where they would see the Hat Man and then like normal humanoid shadow man would like attack them in their sleep. Oh. And they would wake up feeling completely exhausted, drained. They might have bruises. And it's like, is he like the mafia guy? Or like,
right. Is he like in charge or something?
Yeah. He sticks around longer than most shadow beings. So whereas some shadow beings, most of them will flee as soon as you see them, he'll just stand there and stare at you. And you can cover your head and look back and he's still staring at you.
That's so creepy.
People feel that he feeds off the fear that you emit after spotting him, and that he seems to be incredibly evil, though never actually physically harming you. Some people say that their abusive exes saw the Hat Man before assaulting them, and that they had seen him while in their abuser's presence. So they had never had like any experience with the paranormal. Then their significant other started talking about seeing the Hat Man. They started getting abusive, and then suddenly they were seeing the Hat Man. Oh. So he's not a nice guy.
No.
Okay, and so then I have a couple instances that I want to show you. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So this is an old picture taken. The photographer claims that they never saw this hatted figure. If you'll look, it has its hand on the middle woman's shoulder. She died a couple weeks later.
Ew.
Yeah. So we'll post that in the group, obviously.
Oh.
So that's actually the Hat Man. He does not make it in a lot of photographs. He does not like to be photographed. You'll catch more just regular humanoid shadow beings than you will the Hat Man. Okay, so then found this picture. This woman had seen, it was a mother. She had seen this shape out of the corner of her eyes, a lurker, and she kept telling her family about it. And they're like, you're crazy, So everybody was home for Thanksgiving. It's bustling.
Yeah.
And her daughter takes a picture of her boyfriend. And lo and behold, right behind him is this huge 7-foot tall shadow being.
That is the universe telling that girl to leave that man.
Well, when the mother saw it, she goes, "That's him. That's the thing that I've been seeing following me around the house."
Ugh.
And she was finally, like, obviously validated,
Right.
which was wonderful. Okay, so then the next two are actually videos that I have. This guy was starting to stream a game, and he pulled up his Xbox Connect to start recording. And it's all fine and dandy. He sees himself, which I'll post this in the group so that you guys can watch this as well. He sees himself, and then when it says, "What else does Connect see?" which sounds very threatening anyway, he clicks it because it, like, goes through different spectrums. And there's a figure standing behind him, and then as soon as he turns to look at it, it walks off the camera.
I hate that. That is so scary.
And he, like, filters through again, and he's like, "Where the freak is that thing?" And it's just gone. He's, like, feeling behind him like it was just there, you know?
Oh my gosh, that is really good. Are you sure, like, this is legit? This isn't him, like,
it was sent
pulling
in,
a prank?
No, I'm fairly sure because you can see his face. He's shocked when
Yeah.
it happens. I don't even know how you would do that. And the thing is, like, the Kinect is actually used in a lot of ghost investigations because it projects, like, dots across the landscape.
Yeah.
And if things move, you can see the dots moving.
Oh, I've seen Paranormal Activity.
Yeah.
I
Yes.
know,
That's
yeah.
what they're using is, like, the Kinect technology. So it picked up on that.
That is crazy.
Yeah. Okay. And then this last one.
Okay.
This guy kept telling his friends about this shadow thing that kept following him around the house, and they didn't believe him. So he decided, he did it in the dark because that was the only time the thing would ever show up, okay?
As creepy things do.
Okay, so this was filmed in March 2012, and he's trying to film, he's standing in his kitchen, and something is flipping the lights on and off in his lobby of his house. Or his foyer, not lobby. He's calling out to it. It's still flipping the lights on and off. So he starts to step through the kitchen to go investigate.
He is so brave.
And you
Oh
can
my
see
gosh.
the rail. The railing, you can just see the bottom of the railings up the stairs, and you see black legs walk up the stairs.
That's legit. That is, like,
It's not over.
opaque.
I know. That was like pitch black. Like, you cannot see through that.
No.
So obviously he's having a legitimate reaction.
Uh-huh.
He did not even upload this video to YouTube. He only sent it into this place. He has a YouTube channel.
Okay.
His phone is upstairs, so he's like, I got to go up and get it, right?
Is he gonna
Not
really-
my natural reaction.
No,
but-
no. I would be like, okay, I'm getting a new phone. I'm never going upstairs again, ever.
Exactly.
Upstairs is
I'm
off,
moving out.
off,
Bye.
off limits. Yeah.
Okay, so... Okay,
is this
so
from Ireland? Is he Irish?
He's Scottish.
Oh, wonderful accent.
He's like, I'm sorry, the Scottish always curse. Okay, so he's still freaking out. He's heading toward the base of the stairs. He's like, I gotta go get my phone.
Why?
He's looking up the stairs.
Just
There's nothing
leave
there.
the phone behind.
As he starts to ascend the stairs, listen.
Oh,
Did
nope,
you really?
nope.
It freaking hisses at him.
Here it comes again. Oh, nope.
So he understandably struggles to get his keys to freaking get in the door so he can run away.
We will absolutely post that for you guys to enjoy. That was a treat.
Oh my gosh. So yeah, that is some experiences with the Hat Man and shadow people that I believe, especially that last one, was
Yes.
for sure real.
Yeah.
So I'll post all of that stuff, obviously in the group.
So I love how, like, our weeks revolve around just terror now.
I
Just,
know.
yeah, I was researching shadow people while my kid napped today. Anyway,
But isn't it interesting that the people that pick up the black-eyed kids are in suits
yes.
and they're tall
yes.
and black, and the Hat Man is too? It just kind of makes you wonder if they're all related.
It does. And it makes me happy that they all care about their sense of style. I like
Their
that.
sense of style. Except for the black-eyed kids. They're outdated.
They've all been
Out of
on
fashion.
They've all been on Queer Eye, and they've made them over and made sure that they feel good about themselves.
Oh my
and
gosh.
dress
Can
appropriately.
you imagine?
From what the research that I've done, just like bits and pieces here and there, is that they show up after a chaos, after something happens. They maybe show up before something bad happens.
They like dysfunction.
And they know when you could see them, is what I've heard. I've heard that, like...
Well, you saw in that one video with the Kinect, it stood there until it appeared, and he could see it, and then it's like, oh, okay, bye.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, bro.
I just wanted to watch your gaming channel.
I really enjoy gaming. I just want to see what you're going to play, bro. No, but, like, I've heard that they... once you see them, kind of like the Black-Eyed Kids type of a thing,
showing up more.
They start showing up more, which is...
Yeah. Well, and the Hat Man, he apparently follows you through your childhood and into adulthood, so...
That sounds so boring for him.
He's fascinated by it. He just feeds off of it. It's crazy. I'm very thankful I've never seen that.
Oh, me too.
I felt like if there was ever a time in my life I would see that, it was last night. But of course, I'd been researching this, so it was kind of like on my brain anyway.
Our last main segment here is we have a few listener stories. I'm going to read one and Kayla's going to read one. And we really want to thank you guys for sending these in, by the way. This episode was a little bit longer than I think we'd anticipated. So we were going to read more, but we're going to save a lot of those for later because we want to have an episode dedicated to listener stories. But we did want to just read a few because they were really cool and I think worth sharing.
I mean, I wouldn't say cool.
They
were very creepy.
I didn't know what descriptive word to use. They were very interesting.
Unsettling.
Yes.
Leaves a bad taste in your mouth.
Yes. So I'm going to start here. I'm not going to disclose the name of this particular listener. We just wanted to kind of protect her identity because of some of the
content.
Yes. So we're going to call her Kay. And here it is. Kay says, I've been having paranormal experiences since I was about 5 or so. The first one I remember, really, is when my great-great-grandfather died. We were at the hospital and my aunt took me downstairs with her to smoke because my papa had just coded and they had cleared out the room. When I was outside, I remembered seeing a cloud moving faster than normal across the sky, which also happened to be shaped like a person, and it stopped on the same side of the building as his room, same floor and everything. After they called his death about 5 to 10 minutes later, that same cloud moved at the exact same speed at the opposite direction it came from, and then just sort of dissipated. I know for a fact that it was an angel coming to get my great-great-grandpa. And after that, it wasn't a sense of sorrow or sadness, just a sense of peace.
It's so comforting.
I love stories like that.
I want to be ushered to the other side.
It is such a refresher after Shadow People.
I know.
Man, we needed that. Thanks.
Notice it was light, like a cloud. That usually means it's positive.
Yes. Ever since then, I've always had a heightened sense of other beings, both good and evil. Growing up, I lived in Cartersville, where Sherman's March took place, and they do a civil war. Can you tell us a little bit about Sherman's March, Kayla? I know you're really big on history and... Sorry.
I know about as much about history as you do. I know he was a Confederate general, and my husband and roommate are fascinated by him, but that's about as far as it goes.
I'm so sorry. This is just a little...
I'm like, are you confusing me with someone else?
A little taste of...
I do English.
Little taste of what we edited out in previous episodes because we sounded like morons when it comes to history.
We saved it for a blooper episode if we ever do anything like that, but we sounded like absolute morons.
So that was edited out, but here you go. There's a little taste of our confusion when it comes to history. Okay. Growing up, I lived in Cartersville, where Sherman's March took place, and they do Civil War reenactments and all that jazz. So I've always felt a sense of heaviness living there. Not sure if it was from all the death from the past or what, but at night I hated to be outside. I'd get a big ball in the pit of my stomach, and I'd always feel nauseous and an overwhelming sense of fear. Nothing ever happened to me there, more of like a sense of evil and sadness being around. When I was about 11, I started having nightmares about being stolen and never seeing my mom again. I'd be screaming in my sleep, but then when I woke up, it was like I was paralyzed and couldn't move, and my screams were more of a whisper. Oh, I have dreams like that. That is so scary. Oh, when you feel out of control like that.
Yeah.
It was really weird. This was around the time that my mom and stepdad fought a lot, and the negative energy was at an all-time high, and the dreams would get worse. And sometimes I'd wake up, and both of my arms would be numb and asleep, and I couldn't move at all.
That definitely sounds like sleep paralysis.
It really does. I'll have to ask her if she's ever really experienced more of that. My mom recently sold this house, and when it happened, it was like the biggest weight was lifted off of me. I'm really glad that that's gone from your life.
I know, same.
Another time in my life that the strange things happened was during the 3 years I was with my daughter's father. It became a very abusive situation about 6 months into the relationship, and I was in a very dark place in my life. I was watching a lot of Snapped and First 48. He was drinking all day, every day, and after a year of being together, he started doing hard drugs. This is when he started trying to kill himself. and would plan to do so I would find him. Things gradually became worse, and the first time he tried to kill me was the first time I actually saw with my own eyes a demonic spirit. He had a rage in his eyes that can't be described, but I just knew I was going to die.
Oh my gosh.
I managed to get away and leave, and somehow he convinced me to come back, and I did. I felt it was an isolated thing and wouldn't happen again. Later on, I began to have an overwhelming sense of fear that couldn't be described, but I was scared to talk to anyone or make him mad because I knew that demon was in him. It was almost a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde type of a thing. The last 6 months of our relationship, crazy things were happening around our house. Things would move with no reason, and blinds would swing like there was a breeze and there was nothing.
Oh, I'm getting goosebumps.
In the middle of the night, it would sound like someone was running from the far end of the house towards my room.
Did you have a cat? My cat does that.
Oh, my cat's too fat to do that. She just sleeps with me in bed and doesn't move. It became a constant force so much that it didn't matter if he was around or not. I felt like the evil spirit was taunting me night and day. Oh, man. I got to the point where I wanted to die myself. I was always smelling men's cologne or something burning. I felt a male presence at all times, but it wasn't one that made me feel safe. I found out that I was pregnant, and I knew that was God's way of getting me out. Ever since I left and have cut off communication with her father and his family, I have been more at peace spiritually, which is why my daughter's name means God's messenger, because she literally saved my life.
Aww.
I love that.
You know, it's interesting because, I mean, we know that demons, like, feed off of that kind of stuff. But, like, even talking about shadow people and everything, they just seem to feed off fear,
yes,
anger, dysfunction. And, I mean, I know what that's like is you can sense when there's that negative being and, like, that toxicity just kind of attracts them.
Yeah.
Because I know, like, even at dark points in my life, like, I've felt demonic presences. It was always when I was going through bad stuff.
Right.
You know, it's like you're put on their radar.
Yep.
When you're going through that.
Absolutely. It's like a magnet.
Yeah.
This house we live in now is the first house I've ever lived in that I don't feel any type of negative energy. I mean, besides my besides my grandma sometimes, but that's probably just old age. I love her.
That's Rachel now.
Yeah. Hey. I'm positive. I'm a positive Pollyanna. Anyway, that was a great story, and I mean a great ending to the story.
Wonderful ending. Horrible situation,
but so proud of her for getting out of it and for
doing what's best for you and your daughter.
Yes. So thanks for sharing that, Kay, and yeah, we really appreciate it.
Yeah. Okay, so my story is actually from one of my best friends. She was the roommate in my story, you know, where we experienced things together. So a couple years later, I had gotten married, and she was kind of moving around. She had some different roommates and things, and she lived in a house up in the mountains of Georgia for about a year. She said everything was pretty normal until at night I started getting weird feelings. I guess it all started when I was going up and down the stairs. You know that feeling where somebody is following you? Well, I always had that at this house. And then at night, strange things started happening. I started being woken up by what sounded like a marble being picked up and dropped on my dresser over and over again. It would freak me out. I'd sit up and look in that direction, and obviously it's pitch black, so I wouldn't see anything, but it would stop. And it was almost like as soon as I fell asleep, it would wake me up again. So then she said another thing that would happen is the door would be completely shut, and it would open on its own and just squeak open more. So it would open, get her attention, then go. So the door was originally completely closed, and that would wake her up because it was opening itself. Like, so it's like locked. Like, you know, it's in the joint or whatever that's called. And she'd look in that direction, and sometimes it would stop, and other times it would just keep opening. So she would obviously cover her head and her blanket to hide from whatever was creating the sound. It was so disturbing that she contacted a friend of hers that's a medium, and she came over and she asked her spirit guides yes and no questions and found out that it was two small children. She thought little boys about 2 and 4 they were connected to the land in some way and passed away and were unable to move on. She asked if there was anything in the house that was connected to the land, and I told her that the wood the house was made out of was actually from the trees on that land. So she told me because they are children, don't engage too much or else they'll start doing it, because you know how toddlers are. They're really annoying, and if you tell them they're annoying, they get more annoying. And so they'll keep doing these things. You have to tell them to stop because they're children, so they don't know not to do it. So she just started practicing. She'd hear the marble, and she'd sit up and go, "Stop it. I am trying to sleep." And it would work. It actually stopped. And she said, I don't know if that was comforting or made me freak out more, to be honest. So yeah, after a while, she got used to just having to tell him to stop.
I don't know. When I hear about like children's spirits, it makes me so sad because it's like, I mean, I don't know if they're on the same plane as us or whatever, you know what I mean? But like, if they are, then maybe they just want attention and love, you know? And like, that just breaks my heart. I hate anything negative to do with kids. I just hate it. But,
but at least it wasn't like, you know, of course, I think everything's demonic, but at least it didn't seem to be like a demonic presence that was trying to harm her.
Right.
You know, it was just some kids that couldn't move on and they were bored and wanted attention. And...
Yeah. I wonder, she doesn't still live there?
No, she moved out of there.
Okay. Because it'd be interesting, like, if they were ever able to move on. I don't know.
I know.
Now I'm getting all bummed out and sad.
Sorry.
Oh.
So...
Yeah, well, thanks for sharing those stories and keep them coming in. Like I said, we'd like to have an entire episode dedicated to listener stories, and we have a few, but we need some more. So please send them in if you're listening. goodlucksleepingpodcast@gmail.com. So, one little tiny bit, and then we're going to close out. We wanted to recommend to you some maybe paranormal or spooky whatever shows that we've been watching lately. And Kaila, what are the recommendations that you have?
Okay, so I have one that it was kind of like one of the gateway shows for me. It's not currently airing on TV anymore, but you can go to ane.com to see most of the episodes.
I bet I know what you're going to say.
Paranormal State?
Yes!
Yes!
Did you know that he got really sick? The main guy? I don't remember what his name was.
I actually read that he went to jail.
Right on.
His name's Ryan Buell. He got addicted to drugs.
Oh. And
got thrown in jail. He's out now. He has a blog.
Okay.
He's sober, I believe, and he's married.
Oh, good for him. He always seems so sweet.
Yeah, but he had started like in the prime, which I think addiction goes hand in hand to some of these haunting things. So who knows if because of the hauntings, he started picking up that, because he wasn't addicted to drugs when he first started the show. It was as the show went on.
Yes.
He said that he got addicted to Vicodin and then heroin, and it just kept escalating. And so he would start selling out these tours to like come and speak with him and like speak to spirits and stuff. And he would sell the tickets and then cancel the tours. And that's how he was paying for his drug habit. And his mom actually reached out to his fan base and was like, stop enabling him. He's not going to come to these shows. Do not buy the tickets. And then when that happened, the cops were like, wait. You know, and he got picked up and thrown in jail, which was good because he got sober. Yep. And he is out now and trying to rebuild his life. So. Okay.
Because I read he had cancer. Like that he recovered from it, but I read that he
lied. He said that's one reason he canceled the tour. He said that he had pancreatic cancer. I remember
pancreatic
because
cancer. I remember thinking, oh no,
no, he didn't actually have it. He had drugs and he wanted to keep the money without having to actually go do the tour. So
wow.
Yeah, okay. But he's past all that now, hopefully.
Sure, yeah, good.
He has a blog now, and he said that he is married and living life and trying to start fresh. And then the other one, this one actually has been very comforting for me recently. It's called The Long Island Medium.
I love her.
She is the best.
She's just the best.
I want to meet her.
Yeah.
But basically, she is a medium who speaks to those who have crossed over. And it's always like healing messages, you know, and it's honestly made me a believer that you can actually talk to people once they've passed, because the things that she's able to speak to them, like she has no knowledge of who these people are. And then there's like these little tiny details that the person who's crossed over gives to her, and it only means something to the person she's talking to, you know? And it's just so interesting. I actually nominated somebody, but she's got like a 2-year waiting list, and that was even before the show aired. So I'm sure we'll probably never get on, but you know, she's like one of those people that just makes you feel good.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, those are good. I love those.
Thank you.
Yeah.
What are your recommendations?
I really like a show called The Dead Files. Okay.
Okay.
And like I've said, I've seen a lot of paranormal things, so not much gets me anymore. But The Dead Files totally does. And they go to a place. It's okay. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. The two people in the show are Amy Allen, who is a medium.
Okay.
And then her partner is called Steve. And he's like this guy. He talks like this. Like he's like from New York, you know.
Yeah.
And he's
That's how the Long Island medium is.
yeah. And he's a retired police investigator. So they have like a psychic and a police investigator, and they go in together. Yes. And they don't talk during the investigation at all. He kind of does like the back work where he looks to like the history of the house and if there's been any, you know, murders in the area, whatever. And then Amy walks through the house and does her psychic thing. Okay. And then at the end, they come together and they meet with the family that's been having trouble. And it's fascinating. And they always line up 100% of the time. Always. Wow. And she's great. I love her. Like, she's not the warmest person, you know? She's very like, here are the facts. You know what I mean? Like, this is what I see. And then like, if they start crying, you can tell like she gets really uncomfortable. Like, oh.
She's not Teresa Caputo.
No. She's just like waiting for them to stop crying to be like, okay, you're going to need to move though. You know what I mean? Like, I don't care if this house means a lot to you. You got to get out, you know?
She's factual.
She is. She's, I was just going to say that she's probably a Slytherin.
Watch it.
But then I remembered who's sitting across from me.
I'm the biggest empath there is.
She's a very warm Slytherin over there. Amy's
I'm not cold-blooded snake.
Amy's more of not the Draco Slytherin. So anyway, so so that's the one. And then the other one is kind of a funnier one. It still falls into the paranormal category, but it's called What We Do in the Shadows.
Oh.
And it's on FX, and it is hilarious. It's a bunch of old vampires, okay, that are living in modern day time in Staten Island.
Okay.
And it is so funny. And like there's like a psychic vampire too, and his name's like Colin. And he's like, they're like, you've probably come in contact with a Colin. You know, you probably work with him, and he drains you of your energy by boring you or irritating you and stuff. And it is so funny. Like, I laughed the entire time. There's been 2 episodes out so far. So
so this is a new show.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
What We Do in the Shadows on FX. So.
And where can you find the Dead Files?
Travel Channel.
Okay.
Yeah.
I bet I could find it like on their website too.
Yeah.
I'm poor. I don't have cable.
Help me, I'm poor.
Yeah. And Long Island Medium, she has a little bit of her episodes on Hulu, but most of her stuff I think airs on TLC. So.
I think TLC is from where I remember her being from. All right.
I feel drained. Do you feel drained?
I'm so tired.
I mean, it's late, but I feel like we really talked about some real stuff tonight.
We dug in.
It's not the chupacabra this time.
No,
like, this stuff
this
real.
We dug in hard, and I hopefully gave you a lot of things to think about, and I guess tips to leave with: don't answer your door at 2 a.m.
and don't open your eyes at 3. Just roll over and go back to sleep. Okay, so this episode has been a lot creepier than our past ones. I dare say it's been the creepiest one so far. Mm-hmm. So as you're going into your evening routine, maybe turn on all the lights when you go upstairs, grab yourself some tea, nice book, and try to drift off as easily as possible.